Cindy, Laura, Chris, Haley, Heather, Kathy, and Aaron.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. And Aaron.
It's Audrey's birthday, so Chris isn't coming.
No, I know. He and Kira both said they're coming next to the next one.
Okay.
Because they already had the previous engagement.
Got it.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Great, thank you. How are you?
Good.
Oh my goodness, and you're gonna learn business communications?
He is the leader of all our meetings.
You know what? That's how it should be. I thought we'd do a quick introduction, just so that.
Who else is coming?
Laura's supposed to be here.
I'll go check and see if she. So Haley and Michelle are on Zoom.
On Zoom.
Hello.
She needs to get stuff done.
No, Dan, I do hear those radio ads. It's like they're looking for new people there.
Our office dog. Dan thinks it's his dog, but he really belongs to all of us.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Reese's.
There he
Reese's.
is.
It's a very respectable name.
I know, I'm gonna get uncomfortable.
Is Mackenzie or Chris? They're not coming?
No, Chris, it's Audrey's birthday, and Mackenzie's not coming. Hi. Are they coming?
Yes, Laura's coming. She's just finishing up that interview. Or I think she was interviewing him. It looked like an interview. Either that or a firing squad.
I also wanted to let you know, because of the timing, this works way better for me, like just going forward. So if we need to add, because I was thinking for some reason morning, but this is, whatever I need to do at St. Bernard's afternoon
Okay.
is fine. So
Cool.
we can just sort of work with that.
Sorry, the time cards or the pay stubs going out.
What?
Sorry, the pay stubs going out so we can hear all the phone calls coming in tomorrow, why they got shorted week one. Hopefully that got relayed. Call it people on the
I
field.
don't get it. What's your question?
Oh, for all the guys, I'm sending the pay stubs out. So everyone who assumed they're getting 32 hours for the first week.
It wasn't. It's not going to be a problem.
You've been expert at this all the time.
Who are we waiting for?
No. Laura.
Let's
Laura,
just go.
but we can keep going.
Yeah, let's go without her.
All right. Why don't we just go around the room, and at least I can put a name and a face together.
I'm Catherine, and I'm Dan's assistant.
You remind me of McKenna Shonifer.
Oh, like both tall.
No, you just, I was like, wow, sisters?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, in a way, yeah.
Yeah.
I know the whole Shonker family. I'm their neighbor.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I live right
Small
next to
world.
Dawn and Stacy.
Oh,
I've known them for a long time.
And I'm Dan.
Yes, Dan,
Yep.
I've seen you around.
Yeah, I'm Cindy.
Cindy, what do you do?
I pay all the bills and I do Danco side of the payroll.
Okay, that's a big one. Okay.
I'm Erin. I do marketing. I helped set up this class. And we've got Michelle on Zoom
Hi,
and
Michelle.
Haley also on Zoom.
Don't see Haley.
I heard her, but
You can't see me?
I see you now.
I can.
Oh,
There you are.
Hi, Haley.
I was gonna say I know my camera's on.
So, there you are. For some reason, it's only showing one at a time.
Yeah.
Oh,
Whoever talks.
Whoever talks. So Michelle does all of our IT, and then Haley, she's the foundation executive director for St. Bernard's.
Oh, nice.
And
Well,
do you know Haley? Were you there when she was there? She went.
no, she probably knows Allie.
I do know Ali very well.
Yep.
That's her sister, yeah.
One of the most organized students I've ever met.
Well, her sister's a notch above that.
Oh, that's wonderful. Nice to meet you, Haley.
Nice to meet you.
My name is Jane, and I am a teacher at St. Bernard's. I teach the AP language courses and the AP literature courses, and then I also teach American film. When I came to America 30 years ago, my first job was in a construction company, and my husband actually immigrated as a roofer to come to America and put on roofs, and then worked his way up in the company and ran Northern California. So I like the construction industry, and I love to paint and grout tile and do those sorts of things. So
Cool.
it's awesome to be here. I put together a small presentation, and there are things that you may know or may not know. But when I sat and thought about who you are and what is important, to me, it seems like the most important thing are your clients, because that's what makes Danco run. And so the most important thing with business communication is you really need to always be aware of who your audience is. I had to think about who is Danco when I am creating this presentation. When I'm teaching in the classroom, am I teaching 16-year-olds who might be different from 17-year-olds, who might be different from the international students coming in from other countries? So when you are communicating with your clients, whether it's an architect or a very annoyed person whose plumbing doesn't work, know your audience, because you can then tailor the information. If you are writing an email to the mayor and you have a proposal for the city, you understand that he's got to deal with the city and the public. So you're going to be tailoring your writing very differently than maybe if you're dealing with Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner. You might have a more gentle approach with Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner. You know, they've saved all their money for this roof or whatever it is. When they're complaining, it might be that they don't understand the process. And then behind Haley's face there's a little picture with the colleagues. So inter-office, you might be communicating differently. You know, Dan's like, oh, where is this? Haley's like, well, it's there. Okay. So there's just a quicker way of communicating. But to know your audience takes a lot of the stress out of writing, because it makes you think about your language. The most important thing for anyone to realize is what is appropriate. There are words you don't say in the presence of your grandmother, right? There are things you don't say in front of 2-year-olds. When you're writing to a client, Dr. Wong, and then sincerely, it's slightly more formal. A colleague might be informal. Hey, Erin, thanks. I can be there at 4. That's great. I appreciate your help. Friends, LOL, if you're a millennial, emojis, whatever. And please remember that not everyone understands industry-specific acronyms. So a lot of construction people understand HVAC, but maybe someone else doesn't understand, you know, an engineer's terms. They might not understand the difference between a paint and primer. I might be dealing with a parent who doesn't understand the difference between the SAT and the ACT. So when you use industry-specific acronyms, make sure that your audience understands them, because they don't want to look stupid and say, I don't know what that means. They'll just ignore it. So that helps you at least communicate clearly. The next thing we need to do after understanding your audience is to identify the purpose of your document, because every document should have a specific reason which will tailor your language. So if your purpose is to inform, it should be brief and clear. Perhaps if you're writing a thank you note, it's a little bit more flowery, a compliment, thank you very much, exclamation mark, it's a little bit more casual. If you're going to propose a solution, understand that there might be multiple solutions, so that you need to be prepared to answer to different people's opinions. If you're reporting findings, it's going to be more analytical. There's not going to be emotion in that language. At 8:45, the roofer arrived. At 9 o'clock, the fire trucks are, like, it needs to be basic, because you don't want to be adding anything into a report that is not accurate. So really think about the purpose of what you're doing. You know, Haley, as you put together the foundation, you're really thinking about people who might want to be benefactors. And so your language is going to be very different than recommending a course of action. That's going to be different language. So just always think about the purpose of your document. A document or text can be a speech, because you write it out. It can be a letter. It can be the words on this Prezi. It's just anything that has language in it. And then as you're writing, really identify the outcome that you want, because there should be something specific that the document is addressing. And you want that person to be able to do it. So think about, what language am I using so that they understand exactly what the outcome should be, because you really don't want to doing the back and forth. You don't want them to be confused, and you don't want to be annoyed with 20 emails or letters or calls. So just think, okay, I need to identify the outcome. So you'll put in certain things that will make it way easy. For example, who's involved? What needs to be done? Deadlines, when it should be done by. And these are great things to put in bullet points. Even in a fairly formal email to Dr. Wong. Danco company is going to be there. They're going to be completing the roof by Thursday. We would appreciate it if the vehicles were not in the driveway, so that the roofers can offload the materials. I'm confirming that your address is 45 Ridgecrest Drive. And the men should be there at 8 o'clock and be finished at 4. And if you have any questions, if you would email me. And we really appreciate you picking Danco, because we understand that in Eureka, having a leaky roof is not a good option during the winter. So that's just my email. Like, so they know, oh yeah, they're coming at this time. All right, let me move the cars. They should be done at 4. Yeah, I don't want a leaky roof in winter. So those are really the specifics. That's the purpose of the email. Please always anticipate that someone else is going to have a different point of view. You are just not always right, even if you think you are in your own mind. And oftentimes the best solutions come from very unlikely sources. And so in the classroom, the reason why I teach is because I learn more than I teach. Because people say amazing things, come up with incredible solutions. And I have to anticipate that there'll be different opinions. And I need to respect that they think their opinion is right. And they're going to try and persuade me. So I shouldn't just be here in my corner going, no, this is the only way. I should be anticipating, what if there's something here that is a good compromise? What if there's something really great about this new idea? So I might see it as a 9, you might see it as a 6, but always just anticipate that. Even if you know there's certain things, no, it's going to be this way. Anticipating that there might be some pushback at least gives you the language to use. Because if you're anticipating this pushback or resistance or some kind of combative point of view, you can use language that is very neutral. Because the minute you anticipate pushback, if you use negative language or slightly accusatory language, automatically, like the hair goes up on the back of the neck. Whereas if you diffuse it and you use very neutral language and you have a very low-key tone in your emails or your letters, you'll get that respect even if the person doesn't 100% agree with you. At least there's this respectful conversation. And the tone can be anything from an exclamation point to using a word like, your roofers made a mistake. You're like, no, they don't. But you can't say that. So you're like, we apologize if there was any inconvenience. It must have been an oversight, because now you don't want to throw the roofers under the bus. At Danco, we always take our clients' concerns seriously. Is there any other way we could help you at this point until they return tomorrow? So you're not throwing anyone under the bus. You're just anticipating, okay, we're going to have a slightly different point of view, but let me take all of my language and put it into this neutral zone. If you're angry, you have to take the step back, all right? Because you need to diffuse and know, I'm not pressing send until this is exactly how I'd be comfortable with it appearing right up here in front of the whole company. So that should be the litmus test. And obviously knowing your audience, knowing your purpose, understanding why you're writing or contacting someone, you don't have to give them tons of information. What do they already know? They know the roofers are coming then, or they know that there's a difference between paint and primer. So just find out, okay, why am I writing this? And let me give them what they need to know so that I'm not confusing them with too many details, or I'm not limiting details because maybe they don't know anything. And they'll really appreciate knowing, this is going to happen then and this is going to happen then. So don't be too cryptic and short, and don't be too wordy. Really respect what they know and don't know. And this takes good customer service. This just takes a little bit of getting to know who you're dealing with. All right, so Haley's thinking, I'm not a mind reader. Do you know how many text, emails, calls I deal with in a day? You're trying to take this round pizza, put in a square box, and make triangles. So you're confused. I did not have to make any of this up. A very famous and wise Greek person formed the rhetorical triangle. And rhetoric is a word that you will hear used as if it's trying to manipulate you, or we think of it as politicians trying to bribe each other. But the word rhetoric just means persuasion. And all language is persuasion. I really cannot think of very many examples where you're not trying to persuade someone in one way or another. And it's not manipulation if there's integrity and authenticity to it. I would like someone to take out the trash. I don't have to manipulate anyone to do that. I can just use language such as, I really appreciate you doing this every week. It just makes my life so much easier. That is just rhetoric. So Aristotle came up with this way we have conversation and the way we communicate. And he says that it's made up of mainly these 3 points. Ethos is your credibility. So Danco has credibility in the community. I say this because I have a daughter that works she's a manager at the domestic violence shelter center. She says Danco gives a lot to their organization. I have another daughter who works at St. Joe's. She does recruiting for medical staff. She knows about Danco. I'm at St. Bernard's. I see Danco all the time. So you have credibility and there's trust there. So when Erin reached out to me and she said, hello, I am part of marketing for Danco, immediately I read the whole email because there's credibility there. Okay. The other part is logo. So you need to have this logic to your communication. The logic might come in data for the engineer. It might come in payroll information. If you've sent something out and said, I really need your date of birth and your social security number, the person emails back. That's just the logic of it. Pathos is the human touch or reaching out to someone so that they really connect with you. It does not have to be a big, long story. It doesn't have to be touchy-feely or flowery. Pathos is just this communication with someone who cannot see you, perhaps. So if you and I are writing, I can't see that you're smiling, but perhaps your language can communicate that. So, for example, Erin might have said at the end of her email, I'll confirm all the dates by Monday, but in the meantime, have a great weekend. Just simple, but that's just this human quality to show you're not a robot. And this pathos can be manipulated, and I use the word manipulated not in a bad way. It can be, you can swing it either logos or pathos depending on your audience. So engineers might need more logos, but perhaps if you're hiring a new group of people, they might need to know a little bit more about the company and what good you do in the community. So there's more of that storytelling. This is all you're really doing with that triangle. You're just reaching for this empathy. There's logic here. Yes, I understand what's going to happen. And yes, there's credibility because this is who we are. You can also borrow credibility. So I might not have credibility myself, but I can say, I'm a teacher at St. Bernard's, and I'm sort of borrowing the credibility of Paul Shanahan, who I think is great, and St. Bernard's, who I think is awesome. So you can sort of borrow credibility when you introduce yourself, just so that people know who you are. And here's just a little bit more detail about this ethos, pathos logos. The speaker could be the writer as well. It's just the voice that you see or hear or read. And it's the ethos is really based on trustworthiness. Are you an expert? Are you reliable? Do you have a good reputation? Okay. When Erin contacted me, I don't know if she's an expert, but she said, I'm from Danco, and I'm in marketing. And so there, right, she established her reputation. Pathos, usually in business, you're going to really appeal to what's fair. So when you're speaking to people, when you're trying to schedule things, when you're dealing with problems, am I being fair? Am I truly understanding what it is they want? Am I responding in a polite and empathetic way? Because otherwise, you're going to go to the low emotions where they just ticked off at you and they're bad-mouthing you or they're harassing you with emails and texts. So this pathos is a very powerful thing, and it doesn't have to be a lot of things. It just needs to be a couple of simple words or sentences. And then logos is just your content. Are my facts correct? You don't want to give too many details about facts. You don't need a backstory. You just need the simple facts and the evidence. And if you don't have a lot of evidence, if something went wrong, oh my goodness, you know, the guy backed into their garage door, now it's ruined. You don't want to go, oh yeah, he had a DUI last year. You don't give lots of stories. You just go, I'm really sorry. I've contacted his supervisor and we'll have someone out to take care of things for you. So the logos needs to be very professional because again, we don't want to throw anyone under the bus at any point. In this whole triangle, what is also critical is the timing of things, and it's called kairos. And it simply means that do things in a timely manner, get it done, you know, strike while the iron's hot. Or, you know, if I know that, you know, if she said to me, I'm taking my dog to the vet and I hope this isn't true and we have to have him put down tomorrow, I'm not going to send her an email about, will there be water at the meeting for me? Right? I'm going to wait. And then I'm going to send an email maybe in 2 days' time and go, I hope you're okay. I'm just confirming details about the meeting. Okay, so kairos, this timing, if you can, if you know your audience, is a very critical thing. You know, if you need to send Dan an email and you know he's just flown in from Hawaii and he's exhausted and the time change is a little bit different, like, think about it. Does he really need to know this right now? Does the client really need to know this right now? Can it wait 2 or 3 hours? Or can they just be a quick thing like, I know you've just gotten back from Hawaii, there's a couple of important things. When you have the time, would you just give me a call? So just the kairos is just being really respectful of timing with people. All right, so I'm going to have you do a little assignment. Consider how this triangle changes when the audience changes. So if you were doing an email to a client, how would that triangle look like? How would that look like in comparison to an email to a friend? Because what I'm really asking you is how one part is emphasized deliberately. Okay, I'm going to give you a minute to think. What would I emphasize in an email to a client in the triangle and an email to the friend? Dan, if you were emailing a client, like if you, wanted some contract, what would you emphasize in maybe an introductory email to them?
Probably something around the emotion, like what, how's the job going, or if they're a client that we're working on, some kind of a check-in on how are we doing.
Okay.
Would be how I would do it now, that typically.
So obviously it's gonna depend on the purpose of the email. So for example, if you wanted a contract in the city, in San Francisco, and you're dealing with architects, in the very beginning, you're going to make sure that you establish your credibility. So this is who we are. These are the projects that we've done. And then again, pathos appealing to their sense of, this is how our designs look. Here are some pictures, because visuals are very empathetic. This is the interior of one of our buildings. This is how we remodeled the dorm at St. Bernard's. So you would perhaps use pictures as part of your pathos. And, you know, logos will be the data. We've completed this many projects. We come under budget. If you would like to contact this architect and this architect to verify information. So you'll just be very balanced in how you approach them. But Haley, if you are trying to get benefactors into a foundation, what do you think? Yeah, what do you think you would do?
As if I were trying to get them to donate or to come somewhere?
If you want them to donate.
So if I was trying to get them to donate, if I was sending them an email, I would probably start off just stating the reason that I'm contacting them, more of a professional way than maybe why they should donate. A little bit of empathy, but not a ton.
Okay, so you can just see that the purpose is always going to set the tone for any email. But in business, don't underestimate the power of the pathos, because the pathos in any situation, whether you're just supplying pictures, it actually makes that connection. And we know from Apple products, we don't know why people buy Apple products. I don't know why my husband has to come home with a new phone every time there's an update, but he does, because he's bought into this new technology. This is the thing. This is the thing. So Apple has really keyed into the why of why we make decisions, this gut instinct. And you know, with St. Bernard's Foundation, the sense of this community school, the Crusaders, state champions, there's all of this stuff. There's a story there that is very powerful. With Danco, with charitable giving, with it being a community business, pathos is very, very powerful, and it doesn't have to be long, and it can also be put in there in a different way. So, go onto this website and have a look at this. This is why you develop the website, because it has the stories and the pictures. So marketing is a very powerful tool when it comes to pathos, because a picture really tells 1,000 stories. All right. Anybody else?
Well, I was just going to say, with the friend email, for the friend, it's going to be the timing of it, and then the pathos mainly with the friend, because if they're your friend, you've already established the, you know, credibility and the consistency. So you've already established the other two things, so it's going to be heavy there and not as balanced throughout the three.
Correct. You might also have emails that start off a certain way, and then move into a different tone. Erin sends me an email. Paul Shanahan recommended that I meet with you because we would like to do some business workshops at Danco. I'm available on Thursday between these times. Would that work for you? Sincerely, Erin, and then the whole Danco signature, so I know everything. All right. I look at this and I go, awesome, Danco. Yeah, I know who they are. And I go, dear Erin, thank you so much for reaching out to me. It would be an honor for me to work with you. I can meet you at St. Bernard's on Thursday, and I'll be in the Mac Lab. Thank you, Jane Sons. And then I put my whole thing, teacher at St. Bernard's, or my contact. The next time, her email is much shorter and a little bit friendlier, and mine is, that's great. Now we're going, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, because now we know each other. All right, now I can even text her and go, where are you?
Yeah.
So you start off with this triangle being sort of quite a formal thing, and then once you get to know somebody,
It becomes content.
yes,
Logos.
yes. So
Becomes what?
Logos. It becomes content, like more like
yes,
yeah.
yes.
Okay.
So
As you get to know, yeah, that makes sense.
because I sent her, I think at 2:00, and I said, I'm going to be at 3:30. There at 3:30 to set up. Is this the correct address? And she goes, yes,
okay.
it is.
I see what with the. Well, I'm thinking of a friend email like they're in distress and you're going straight for the emotions, but you're right. Like as you build a relationship with someone, it is just more. It can be quicker. You don't have to build that relationship or that formality of the pathos and engaging with that person.
Well, isn't most of friend communication logos?
I mean, yeah.
I mean, most of texting is logos.
No, you're right. Most of texting
I guess the
is very
emojis
much
bring
logos.
in-
The emojis bring the pathos.
Yes, thank goodness for
Yeah.
emojis. I don't have to say all of this.
Yeah.
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 So, yeah.
But it is true. Like if you're first meeting someone, it's going to be a little bit longer with text. So between Kat and I, it's like, can you watch the kids at 2? Great. Yeah. Just whatever.
Yeah.
Or I'll take your kids at 2. And so it's very
But again, always be aware of what is appropriate.
right.
So, for example, Paul Shanahan is the principal. Okay, he's I don't know what to say. He's the most wonderful person I have ever worked for or with. I always respond to him like correctly because it's just because I have huge respect for who he is, and it's not because he expects it. He is just the most easygoing, pleasant, unjudgmental person ever. But I always go, dear Paul, yes, I can make it at 8 J. So I'm always careful of giving the respect, especially if it's someone that, is a superior or they're not a buddy.
Right.
Okay. Maybe to the teacher next door to me, teaches Latin. Yeah, there we are.
I worked here too long.
I think
No,
With your body language.
And it just depends on a working relationship. I know, for example, at St. Bernard's, Mike Grummett, who's the vice principal and friends with Paul, I know he's not going, yeah, Paul.
Right.
No, he's giving him a hard time. So, because they have that relationship, they're friends.
Yeah, I know. It's like with these emails, the introduction, I think we've all spotted a spam email or a phishing email for Dan because it's all formal, everything's correct, and everything. It's like that is not Dan Johnson. We spotted those pretty quick.
You're hanging me out right now?
You're very content to the point, which is great.
I'm logos.
I
I'm a
appreciate it.
logos
You are, which is
communicator.
great.
Yeah, it's like he sent me an email the other day. I printed it out and asked, "Is this actually from you?"
Well, it's funny because I'm in this kind of battle with the insurance company. Our airplane got damaged, and I'm in this battle. And they sent back a note just a minute ago, right before I came down here, telling me that this is how something was going to go. And I didn't do anything regarding this communication. All I sent back was in capital letters, that is not acceptable.
Straight to the point.
That was it, man.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it takes time
I didn't
to
give
do
them
all
any
the other
pictures or emojis or anything.
In all caps, I
Yeah.
said it loud and clear.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't even have to write words. In all caps.
Well, just consider your options. Maybe next time go, this is not acceptable because. of the picture of
Yeah.
the dog
Well,
or
that's what I mean, but
plane.
that's helped me see, it's
Right.
this little conversation has helped me see that. I tend to communicate too much when I have the emotion. Because a lot of my communication is it's a problem.
Correct.
I don't usually get to talk to anybody when they're happy. So I'm dealing with it.
Yeah.
It's a problem. So usually it's back and forth, and then I start getting worked up, and it's boom, boom, boom in the keyboard, and so, and that's not an effective way to communicate with someone. Is what I'm listening.
Well, the point. Sorry.
Depends on the audience, right?
It does depend on the audience, but it also depends on your purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can get things done the way you like, I just want this done, then oh my goodness, how am I going to get you to do that? Because I need to use the language that is going to make you respond. So if they're going to shut down, like if you're yelling at me, I'm just going to shut down. And I'll get it done, but I will not respond. Like I won't have this big fight with you. But if you said to me, these are the issues, how could we resolve them? Immediately I step forward. Oh, okay, I can do that because that's just my personality. You're dealing with 17-year-old football players. It'll just be homework's due then. They just want to know the facts. When's it due? So it does depend on your audience, but it also depends on your purpose. That's why I use the word rhetoric, because it's the art of persuasion, and we're all trying to persuade people to do what we want them to do. And it's just so, because why should I be going back and forth arguing with Erin about, well, does this time work? Does that, well, that doesn't work. No, I'm just thinking, I want to know this, and I want to know how long, and I want to know who, and that's it. That's my purpose. So,
but the foundation, I'm speculating, I'm asking, I'm not just telling, is going to be a lot of pathos, right? Because giving is an emotional decision. So Haley sends an email to somebody because she wants to meet with them, let's say an alumni, and she might say, "Hey, I saw the award you won in the trophy case, in 1969.
Yep.
You caught that touchdown pass to make the team win the state championship. We're working to keep that tradition going at St. Bernard's. Would you be willing to meet with me and talk about giving?" And now she's just hit their emotion. Is that right?
Yes, it is. And also to understand that people want to be involved and respected for what they do. So, for example, Haley could do the research and realize that, oh my goodness, when you ask people, have you ever helped somebody out and how did that make you feel? The minute you ask them, how did that make you feel? You'll get way more results than if you ask them, well, has anyone ever helped you? How did that make you feel? Because then it's kind of a victim. But right here, have you ever been a benefactor? When you gave this much, how did that make you feel? Then they're empowered. So just understanding your audience is the most important thing. Because to persuade them.
Haley, writing that down, Haley?
It's just.
I've been going through yearbooks. I've taken lots of pictures and notes on people we're interested in. So.
Yeah, that's wonderful. It does take a lot of homework, but it also takes being genuine as well, because you genuinely want the school to continue and to prosper and to improve, because it is a wonderful part of the history of this place. But when you're communicating with people, you are not asking them for money, even though money is your ultimate goal. Your purpose is that they understand that they then are part of this heritage, that they feel that they have contributed and given back. They are benefactors. And to be a benefactor then means that you're part of a legacy. That's what you're trying to build. So every time you are communicating, you want the buy-in from the person who feels empowered. You're not trying to pull them. It's not the 2-year-old at the checkout stand wanting, I want a candy. Well, then you bribe them. Well, okay, when we get home, you can have a candy. So it's not the bribery.
And then never take them home.
Drop them off.
Go to grandma's house.
So it's definitely understanding your purpose and knowing your tools and how to get to that purpose. And it's going to be different for different people. So applying this triangle to your work requirements here. The ethos is already established because people know who Danco is, especially if they're here and they can go to your website. The one thing people who work for a company need to realize is that you are the company. The way you speak, the way you dress, the way you conduct yourself, your attitude, whether it's on the phone, it has all been interpreted by the reader or the audience. So you need to be very aware that basic skills really, like lack of that can undermine your credibility. That's why it's so important to understand good email etiquette, who is my audience, check your spelling and grammar. I do English all day long. I still have my dictionary little thing and my little thesaurus on my laptop because, oh my goodness, those connotations have 2 T's. No, I think it's 1 T, 2 N's. So I'm checking because I don't want to send back an email to a parent and spell something wrong and underneath it says, J, English teacher. It doesn't look good.
It will affect your credibility.
Right.
Your credibility.
Right.
Yeah.
And even worse than that, it makes Paul Shanahan look silly for hiring me.
Right.
So
Well, and we've had that. We've
Oh,
had the
right.
external communication go out of here, which is the impetus for this class, that has undermined our credibility.
Right. But I mean,
I hadn't really
maybe-
thought
yeah.
about it like that,
Yeah.
but that's
Well, English teacher though, I mean, that is like what
Well,
you're
right.
teaching, so that's even higher. You know,
More pressure.
yeah, it's a little more pressure for us than it is. Yeah. I
well,
understand.
yeah, but I'm thinking of things like Kathy sending an email, don't say she's leaving.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. No.
I mean,
Right.
things-
Absolutely.
Right, that's
Yeah.
what I'm
No, absolutely.
And Kathy gets a little too emotional.
If we
sometimes.
misspell one word or don't insert a comment somewhere in an email, that's pretty well delivered. It's
Depends
not
on
gonna-
who it's going to.
Exactly. That is true.
If you're sending it to Mrs. Smuts and you're wanting to get a job to remodel her house, that might be enough to say, forget it. So you got to know your audience.
That's true. That's very true.
And I mean, everyone makes mistakes. So, for example, I have a sister who lives in London. She is super bright. She's one of these gifted people, producer, director, just brilliant person. And we're always on WhatsApp. And she sends me this message and she spells there wrong. I'm like, Shani, really? And then I think to myself, oh, she's human. Yeah. So it was like, oh, great. You did something that I can do better.
Yeah.
I loved it.
1 point thing.
Yes. So, you know, but always, everything you say, all of your words are part of your company. So anything you say, like how it's going to be interpreted, the response to the problem, it's all part of Danco. So if you don't know, then don't pretend you know. But and don't add details and don't throw someone under the bus. Just go, thank you for your email.
Why are you looking at
You know, because we all want to put in that 10 cents worth and do a Donald Trump Twitter. It doesn't actually serve a good purpose in a company. So you're trying to get a response. Your purpose is to defuse or solve. But if you don't know the details, then just simply say, thank you. I'm sorry that happened to you, but I'll definitely get with a supervisor and have them call you because they know the story or they know the details better than I do. But I'm here if you need me, and here's my number. So just kind of diffuse it because it's your company. And so the ethos of the company depends on you diffusing this problem because you really want the results. And the end result is that you want Danco to keep going and getting better. You don't want it to go under. That's actually the end result. So everything you do has to push that credibility forward. I always like to think that the person I am talking to and the person I'm writing to, the spotlight needs to be on them. I'm simply the voice that's communicating, but really everything they want. When I'm looking at a person in the classroom, I'm just seeing them as the child of their parents. Everything they want for this child, and I need to make sure that I'm treating them with dignity, I'm giving them what they want, I'm hearing them, I'm not prejudging them, I'm not cutting them off. It's like there needs to be a spotlight on your audience, whether it's in writing or in speaking, because the audience is really the most important thing, and with Danco, the client. With pathos, really connecting just with good words. So, when Haley's trying to reach out to people, words like legacy these are good words, because people are thinking, creating a legacy. Yeah, I'm not just doing this for nothing. I'm not just working 9 to 5 and then going home and again 9 to 5. I'm actually creating something that has longevity. Using correct grammar, and it doesn't have to be complex, it can be simple. And if the grammar looks funny to you, just shorten the sentence. Because sometimes you're just thinking, oh, I don't know how to say this. Simpler is better. Not everyone wants lawyer speak. Because I'm sure when you read insurance papers, and you're like, I don't know what you're talking about. Just recently moved my 401k from Wells Fargo to being day traded. Like, I didn't know what I was reading from Wells Fargo. I had no idea. I just signed it and went, sure, as long as it's going there, I'm fine. Because it was too complicated. So, and then with pathos, how you react with empathy. This is, you know, even if the person is in the wrong, even if they've complained 100 times, empathy can actually just be keeping quiet as well. It's just like, all right, just not going to do anything. I'm not going to do anything to make it worse. Obviously, what do you think?
Oh, I just asked if one lady that works here was his glasses.
Turned to play within this class.
So, yeah, but really keeping quiet, not sending the email, not sending the text, not Facebooking while you're drinking. Those are really strong empathy skills. Don't do it. Wait. So,
No drunk texting.
yeah, just don't do it. Pack away all stuff in your, like, not in your full mind. And then logos. Logos is just the bread and butter of everything. I love logos because I just want to know when, where, how much, what. So it's just, you know, always include this. Don't forget to just make sure that you're very specific and you're clear. You're not using jargon or fancy language, and I don't know if you mean him or him, and I don't know who him is. So just keep it as simple as possible. You're not trying to be a lawyer, and you're not trying to write poetry. In emails, really, the nicest thing you can have is a bullet point system with, you know, we're starting a project on Monday. Here's the things you need to do. Boom, 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 boom. We really appreciate you choosing Danco. And if you have any questions, please give so-and-so a call. It's just keep it as simple as possible. Because the sales pitch has already happened. So, and if you're making, you know, if you're trying to get a client, then you're using a different formula of the triangle. But when it comes to logos in the company, simple is better because simple also is fairly objective and there's no emotion in it. If you're dealing with perhaps a problem, you're trying to find a solution, logos is often a nice way to deal with the problem because you can say, I understand on this date this happened. These are the facts that I understand. If there's anything else, if you would let me know. And we're really here to solve this together. So you just add that little pathos in the end. But like logos, when they look at it, they're like, I can do that, yes, yes, yes. You know, so HR, I'm sure people just do that. You know.
Yeah, I'm not HR. It's someone else. I'm underneath of it. Or actually, I just process the payroll.
You know, but I'm sure, like, just boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
All people really want to know is when they're going to get paid.
Correct.
Right. Yeah.
You will get paid on this date.
Yeah. Well, it's like I request when we finish out a job, all the lien releases and stuff, the conditional and unconditional final, and I'll say, okay, this is what I need, and I give a list of all the subs and who their suppliers are, and so they know who the really in the job and said, we need all this before you can get your final payment. Please help us. Yeah. And then here's all the details. Of
so what could you after today, after being in this hour, we've been here an hour together, what could you do a little bit differently? What could you add to it?
Yeah, thank you for being on the Danco team and stuff, for supporting us to get this and get all of you paid.
Right.
That's paid. Yeah.
Thanks for the good work.
Yeah.
Job's beautiful. I drove by it and the stucco looks great. Whatever, make it personal. that give that emotional
Yeah,
connection.
because usually I just do a blanket email out to all the subs. So.
Right. Yeah, you can change that.
Yeah.
Because remember what I'm taking away is that you got to identify the purpose.
Right.
Right. And what I know is that when people emotionally connect to me, I respond differently than when they don't. So if you emotionally connect to the sub, maybe they're going to respond more timely, accept your request, fulfill on what your purpose is, which is really all you want is a freaking lien release.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure,
That's
yeah.
really all you give a shit about.
Right.
Is you really don't care what color the damn thing is, but
Right.
if you got to say that,
Yeah.
you see what
Yeah, it was like I say I have. Well, even if I heard from our superintendents and people in the community, this place looks great.
you're part
You're
of
a part of this
making the
improvement.
downtown better.
Yeah,
Just thinking.
improvement for this. Yeah.
And a lot of people get used to being treated like less. You're just part, cogs in a machine. And the minute you pull them out of that and make them realize, no, like without you and without you being consistent and reliable and really good at what you do, and you show up and you did a great job, and those things lift people out of just being nobody in a company to thinking, no, actually, that's great. I really appreciate that acknowledgement, because the acknowledgement is a far better motivator than anything else. Of course, everyone likes a bonus and all of those things, but when you feel what you're doing is important, it provides you with some kind of it gives the company integrity, because then they don't just say, oh, at Danco we value your business and we value our employees. You're actually saying it to them. Thank you very much. And it's not just a Christmas party or whatever. It's just like every single time, really, we thank you. Because if they didn't do their job, you wouldn't have a job. So with each person, every layer, they just, it's just adding to this whole thing that makes this organization have ethos and credibility. So,
I think about, I mean, this has been very valuable for me, but I think about when you're communicating to the guys in the field about a time card, right? You could say, rather than, you screwed up, right? You could say, and I can't imagine how difficult it must be to punch in and out on a job with all the activity and all the confusion and all the different jobs we have. It's got to be really difficult to find the right job, right? But when you do punch in and out, it ensures that we can get payroll to everybody in the organization in a timely fashion. So you see the difference there versus just saying, you dumb shit, you didn't punch in right?
Or just said,
Right? I mean,
punch in.
it's a big difference.
Miss punch,
Right.
July 17th.
Because nobody's doing it on purpose.
No.
I can't imagine how much difficult it is to have to process these lien releases. But if you get these things processed, you could do that as a general email to everybody.
Yeah.
You could say generally the building completely transformed downtown Eureka, and you guys are a part of it. I'm just thinking of Coast Central.
Right.
Right?
which by the way is awesome, because that's my bank, and I was like, wow, this looks great. Love
It
it.
definitely changed the atmosphere.
Uh-huh.
And the resident, I heard something, they took her to the hospital or something, but I don't know if it was because of her hospital stay or something else, but the resident has moved on elsewhere.
Talking about the lodge.
No. Go Central. There was a lady camped out on the bench.
Oh,
the lady
She's
that-
still there. She was there today. I talked to her.
Okay.
It's,
I
her
haven't.
name's Ellen.
Okay, I haven't seen her when
She's
I
a
drove
sweet
by.
soul. She's the only homeless person I've ever given any money to.
And she's always there, even now, no.
She's still there. I talked to her today.
Yeah, I haven't seen her when I drive home.
She's a sweet soul.
How's she
Sleep-
on it?
She, she sleeps on the bench right on the corner of E and 4th.
Between, right by
Yeah.
George Peterson and,
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was sleeping there today. I gave her
Okay.
$20.
Yeah, I haven't
She's
seen her
a
lately.
she's a sweet woman.
The one thing I can tell you is that the way you use words actually creates your world, because words name things. And when you name things, they have attributes, they have characteristics. So if I'm thinking the student geez, you're lazy and your handwriting's terrible, blah, blah, blah. If I'm thinking those words, then I'm putting those characteristics on him, and that's our relationship. So words actually create the world. And when you use words that are either neutral or a little bit forgiving, or just in general more empathetic, or just acknowledging that someone else has a life beyond what you see right now, there's other things that you don't know. The minute you use that language, that becomes your world. And so in a classroom situation where I'm dealing with 130 teenagers every single day, 11th and 12th graders, all going through whatever they're going through, the words I use create the world in the classroom, but it also creates my world, because I go home every day like I'm not stressed at all. And this is like, and I'm dealing with high energy people because I use language with them and I think this language with them, and it takes time because sometimes really I just want to poke them with a stick. But generally, I'm like, you know what, there's stuff going on here, and my classroom is not the most important thing in your life right now. So I just need to acknowledge that and allow you to deal with whatever you're dealing with. And I'm just going to be as pleasant to you as possible and help you in whatever way I can. You might be lying to me, but I'm not going to make that judgment. That's on you. So when you use words in a way that is either neutral or inclusive or positive, it changes the way you feel. And so the purpose of me using this language, my purpose, is me, because I want to feel this way. I don't want to go home pissed off. I don't want to go home annoyed. I don't want to be worried about or was I too harsh on this person? Because in the classroom, I'm dealing with a different audience. I'm dealing with an audience that could be fragile, and I don't know what is happening. So when you're dealing with clients, you're dealing with people that have lives beyond this situation. And so to use words that are professional, that are simple, that are direct, but kind of not too emotional, those things just help establish your credibility. Because then people are thinking, yeah, last time I dealt with Danco, they were great. We had this problem, but no, they got to it. It was fine. I'll definitely call them again, because they just sense that there's this company that will just stand behind what they say, and it's not too dramatic. So that is.
That's fantastic.
It's like a therapy session,
Mhm.
right?
I could listen to you talk all day.
I need to run. I have a meeting after the at Eureka at 6:30.
All right. Thank you so much.
But thank you. So we're here again next week. Oh, I won't be here. Shoot.
You know, I can do this.
But we are
And
recording
you don't
them,
know.
so,
Oh, we are?
yes.
Oh, cool.
So
Very good.
people can
I
go
got
back.
4 pages of notes.
Oh.
We'll talk about this tomorrow morning.
Yep, I know, we got notes.
Yeah, thank you.
Also, if you need to reschedule, because I'm on vacation, if you want to change a date because of people's schedules, just let me know.
Yeah, we need everybody to hear this one.
'Cause I'm-
All right, thank you.
Thank you so
Have
much.
a good night. You guys.
Erin, thank you so much for your help with technology. Haley, I'll probably be seeing you on the foundation.
Yes, I'll be at the school. I've been there Mondays and Thursdays in the afternoon. I'm actually going to be there tomorrow pretty much